Quick update. We're getting a lot closer. We've got a lot of the all the transfer switches in and everything. So right now, power in the house on auxiliary power. So the interlock's off. Let's turn the flashlight on here. So I'm in the off position on the main. The back feed uses a 60 amp breaker. So I'm currently repowering. Both the ACs are off. The ovens are off, all that stuff. Those ACs are going to get moved over here anyways. At least one of them. And definitely the oven. But we've got the entry from the solar panels. Running over here. Running down. Into my power cabinet. So in here we got the batteries. I still gotta put that UPS on. Right now the whole thing's only running off just this one string here. They still gotta all be connected together, but they're there. And this is a shunt trip breaker, so it needs 24 volts. So I got a little power supply hooked up to it to do that. I might just replace that completely. It's not a non-shunt trip. Light. Pulling about 700 watts on one, 80 watts on two. %3 on one leg, 22% on the other leg. So let's explain what's going on with all these panels, because it's always the most complicated part. So I'm on auxiliary input, which is generator. It's marked generator, but it's auxiliary input. That comes from that thick number 2 service entry wire. That goes to this panel here. Here's another set of 60 amp breakers. So right now I can pick between solar or generator. The solar then comes down on this black cable, goes to this 50 amp generator box. So it's a little overkill now with 6 kilowatt inverter, but it won't be when I add a second one or go to a 12 kilowatt inverter. Then that goes into my panel here. So the power's coming out of here, right? And just like you're feeding a generator, except now I have the option between a generator and solar. And then over here I have an option between grid and auxiliary power. Well, what's this other panel for? This other panel is a generator sub panel. So where the generator comes in, I've got an output that feeds this one. 60 amp feeds that one, and then a 50 amp that feeds the receptacle. So it's going to be the big heavy duty like stove or camper 50 amp plug. So the reason why I did that is because this inverter has a bypass function, meaning I can, if the load gets too large or the batteries get too low, don't have enough solar power, it will switch over to another auxiliary input like the grid. But let's say it's a grid down situation, so there's nothing to switch to. Well, I've given now the option that I can switch to the generator. So now the 12 kilowatt generator will power the inverter, charge the batteries, and then come back and power the house, right? And if something's wrong with, and this is the way I'm going to keep it most of the time, but like, let's say something's wrong, with the inverter, I can just go directly from generator to panel with that transfer switch and just take this whole section out of play. But normally it'll be plugged into grid, and that's so when the batteries go low, or if there's not enough sun for a couple of days and the batteries die, or I draw more than 6,000 watts, it'll bypass and start pulling up to 40 amps from the grid. So like a air conditioner startup, that surge will be more than this thing can handle. So it'll pull from the grid until the load drops, which it will shortly after startup. And then once the load is below what it can handle for a little bit, it'll then switch back to battery. So for startups, I'm still going to rely on the grid for now because this is a high frequency inverter. So I'm thinking I might upgrade it, either add another one to have 12 kilowatts, which still two high frequency inverters still may not start the air conditioner, or just switch it out for a low frequency 12 kilowatt grow watt. But with that ability, I can then use my generator to charge the batteries and power the house. So that's why I got these two boxes here. One's a grid, which is what it'll be plugged in normally. One's a generator in case there's a grid down situation where I need the generator and the solar is not good enough. So that's what's going on with those panels. And like I said, this one's grid only. So this will be coming in from my meter, which I haven't done yet. It's one of the other last things I gotta do. So I got a new piece of wire. It's under that pile of wire somewhere. It's 4-aught aluminum. I'm gonna go from the meter base into here. 200 amp breaker. Then there's pass-through lugs at the bottom. It's gonna come back up, go through this this offset, and then feed this panel. This way, this panel will always have grid power, versus this panel will only ever have what I have it selected to, which will usually be auxiliary power. So in here, there's only going to be 3 breakers. There's going to be upstairs air conditioner that runs at night, right? No sun, so I don't want to kill the batteries running that. And then there's going to be the ovens, because I think the oven is 10,000 watts all by itself. I got a double electric oven. That's not obviously necessary. And then I'll have the 50 amp bypass that goes down to here. Right now it's this one, just because I put this 30 amp in there just so I had something to know what to terminate, where to terminate the wires to. But got the little green light there. Lets us know we got power coming in. That's kind of a new box style. They're good boxes, but the knockouts are junk. You cannot knock out the knockouts. You gotta use a knockout cutter, because they're just junk. But there it is at the moment. It is technically power in my house. I can already tell I don't think 6 kilowatt by itself is going to be enough. So I really need to make a decision on whether or not I want to focus. Whether or not I want to buy another 6 kilowatt, because these are, you can put up to 3 of these in parallel. Or if I just want to go with a grow watt low frequency 12 kilowatt that will for sure power everything. The only reason why I like having maybe 2 of them is, redundancy, right? So if one does break, you still got power. You're just going to have to monitor your loads, Won't be able to start air conditioners and stuff during the summer. Right now I got 20 kilowatt hours of lithium batteries. I still got to put the BMSs in there. They're 120 amp BMSs. So I got 1 for each set. So I got 3 of them. And this thing only pulls, I think, 130 amps max. DC input, 137 amps max. So this is a 150 amp breaker. These are 120 amp BMSs. I got 3 of them, so technically I can pull 360 amps from this battery. The question is it big enough? Is it enough kilowatt hours? 20 kilowatt hours. It's 4 of those new batteries at $1,500 a piece. You know, that's $6,000 worth of batteries right there. They still have these available on eBay. I could buy 6 more. I don't remember how much they are, and then have another set there. And then I would have, if this is 20, it'd be 27 kilowatts ish, 26.5 kilowatts. Is that enough now? I don't know. It's really going to be trial and error, because I'm not going to calculate every single load in my house and how many minutes a day it's on, and you know, I'm just gonna wing it. And that's the best part with these type of hybrid inverters, is that bypass. So I can set it to like a 20% battery state of charge, 30% battery state of charge, or whatever. And when it hits that voltage on the batteries, gotta shut this beep off. So right now I'm at 52.4 volts. I could set that to whatever, right? 48 volts or whatever 20 or 30% state of charge is on these lithium batteries, and tell it to shut off. And at that point, it won't shut off. It'll just switch to grid. And so I'll still have the savings of solar. Not that the ROI on any of this crap is really existence in Michigan. I doubt I'll ever see ROI on any of this. But I'll have power if those rolling blackouts start hitting Michigan, even though DTE told us that they've got it under control with all their diesel generators parked everywhere. And maybe they will. For now, until they close down Fermi in 2 years, which is planned. Then what? We're closing down nuclear power plants faster than we're replacing all these power plants. So we'll see what the next couple of years of energy looks like. Or the cost of energy, for that matter, might be higher. Just heard one of my freezers kick in. What are we at now for load? 4%, 21%, so didn't really go up. It was probably running a minute ago when we looked at it. But, yeah. Here we go. That's the system. It's really close. Maybe another day or two of, hooking up all the little lead wires to this, all the individual cell wires, that's probably going to take a while. Because I got to parallel all of these batteries and then hook them up. Parallel all these batteries and then hook them up, you know. So, and then hook all of these in parallel, and then grab the power from one corner and the negative from one corner and the positive from the top corner over here, and so that it parallel charges and pulls from the batteries evenly. But it's really close. I can actually power the house for, testing. Seems to be working. All right. That's the update. What does this say over here now? Anything? Say we're pulling any power? This little analog is showing like 500 watts on each one, but this is a 15 kilowatt meter. That one's saying 600. That one's saying 80. So I might have that wired wrong in there. There's a possibility I have maybe been wired in series or something. I don't know. I just think we might be down in the dirt. Push up and lock it. Let's do it. Still got power there. Back to grid. Shut this little guy off. You'll hear this breaker get all pissy. There you go. Shunt trip. That just powered down. I don't know if that's good or bad for it, but I'll hit the off switch. It's like a hard reboot. My sump pump just clicked over there too. That's on running off golf cart batteries, and then I got a whole set of batteries over there. I mean, those are 15 kilowatt hours worth of battery. Got 8 12 volt 200 amp hour batteries, but they're old. They don't really have a ton of capacity left in them. I don't know what I'll do with those. That's the update. It was a long video.